I wasn't included. Not this year. Not the one before. Not for a decade. The email landed on a Monday, its subject line bright, trying too hard to feel inviting. Haywood Family Gathering 2025. Respond by Thursday. It wasn't meant for me. I knew that before I opened it, but I clicked anyway. They were all there. Elise, naturally, with her spouse and their 2 children. Aunt Margaret from Charleston. Uncle Paul, still sporting that garish bucket hat in every picture. Even Cousin Nora, who once took my graduation dress and swore she hadn't with a blank stare. But not me. Not even a mistaken version of me. No Mara. No Myra, just a void where I belonged. That kind of omission doesn't scream. It murmurs, steady, relentless, like a radiator humming until one day its absence reminds you it stopped. I sat in my office in San Diego, surrounded by sleek windows, urgent deadlines, and diplomas I'd clawed my way to earn. The space felt chilly, untouched by the California light. I reread the email, then my name, absent as if it had never existed. I nearly shut the laptop. Nearly. But something urged me to open a new window. I searched for the beach house where the gatherings were always held. A sprawling, weathered house on the Carolina shore. Wraparound porch, fairy lights. The last place I heard my father chuckle before his heart faltered. And there it was, a fresh listing, not for lease, for sale, no group message, no call. Not even a courtesy note. I scanned every detail. Price reduced. Seller eager, title under review. I knew the agent. The same one who managed my grandfather's estate. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. They were letting it go. Silently, like they'd let me go, like I was just another relic to discard. But I wasn't furious, not yet. I turned to the shelf behind me. There it was. The coral shell my father gave me at 10. You move with the currents, Mara, he'd said. Don't let them shrink you. That's when the plan took root. They'd erased my name from every invite, but I still knew how to write one. Being erased isn't announced. It creeps in. One unanswered text. One family snapshot shared without you. One chair left vacant at a table where no one asks after you. At first, I made an effort. I sent birthday gifts, joined the group chat when it still included me, flew back for Christmas, even when the ticket rivaled my rent. I offered to cover Mom's car loan when Elise's kids needed new shoes. I did what youngest daughters do, show up, stay soft, be helpful. But helpful has a shelf life. Elise always stole the stage. She was vibrant, camera-ready, bold in a way people called magnetic. She threw engagement parties with custom mocktails, ordered monogrammed hats for reunions. Once texted me from a craft store to ask if I preferred navy or peach for the beach house decor. I said, I don't think I'll make it this year. She replied, that's fine, Mara, we'll keep a spot for you. But no one did. After Dad's heart attack, I flew out solo, sat in the hospital while Elise was too frazzled, and Mom couldn't face seeing him so frail. I spoon-fed him, read from his favorite Hemingway novel. When he could talk, his voice rasped. You showed up. That spring, I asked Mom about estate plans, not for cash, just to know what would happen to the house, the accounts, the trust he'd referenced. She gave a taut smile. Elise and I have it handled. Don't trouble yourself. I stopped asking. The last time I tried visiting the beach house, the spare key wasn't under the planter. Elise said they'd changed the locks after a burglary, but I hadn't heard of any burglary. I started skipping gatherings. I sent postcards that went unanswered. I stopped correcting their posts, calling me aloof or preoccupied. One day, Mom shared a vintage photo of Elise and Dad on the shore, the horizon glowing behind them. I remembered that photo. I'd taken it. I was right there, just out of view. She'd cropped me out. That was the year I stopped sending packages, but I didn't stop watching. Charlotte, my old neighbor, now a legal assistant, kept me in the loop. Quietly. Screenshots, fragments, email chains I'd been dropped from. They think you vanished, she said once. But you're just listening. I hadn't left. I was waiting. And sometimes those who forget you quickest fear your return the most. I didn't buy the house out of spite. I bought it because I was tired of acting like my absence was an accident. The listing had been up for 12 days, hushed. No fanfare, no family text, just a discreet for sale link tucked in a real estate email I nearly trashed. The house wasn't even listed under the Haywood name anymore. It was under an LLC, likely Elise's doing after Dad passed, a tidy structure to keep things neat. I knew that game. I worked in corporate planning. I'd seen that move countless times, but I wasn't angry. I was precise. I printed the paperwork, called a friend in real estate law, set up a call with Charlotte that evening. She ran a title search in under 15 minutes and found something unexpected. A clause in the trust tied to me. Dad's original trust had a contingency. If the estate fell into disarray, unpaid taxes, lapsed insurance, lack of transparency, The secondary beneficiary, me, could claim the title. The taxes were overdue, so was the insurance. It wasn't even neglect. It was carelessness. Arrogance. Elise and Mom probably thought the house could linger half-used, half-claimed, until they decided its fate. But Dad had left a safeguard just in case. Charlotte's voice was steady. "If you want it, Mara, it's yours. No battle needed." I didn't reply immediately. I just stared at the coral shell on my desk, still whole after all these years. I remembered Dad wiping sand from it, handing it to me like it was precious. "You move with currents," he'd said, "not waves. You return stronger." That night I opened a fresh spreadsheet. My finances, investments, liquid funds, reserves. I wasn't rich like Elise's post suggested, but I'd built something steady, quiet mine. I contacted the listing agent 2 days later. She didn't know my name until I said, "Haywood, Mara, daughter of Daniel." She hesitated. "Oh, you, the other one." "Yes, the other one." I signed the purchase under the contingency clause, no fanfare, no announcement. Then I opened the booking system and reserved one room, the primary suite. 3 nights, check-in Thursday. Guest name: Miss M. Haywood. Under preferences, I typed, "Please have a bottle of Veuve Clicquot chilled." Guest prefers firm pillows, linen sheets, complete privacy. When the confirmation arrived, I didn't grin. I didn't weep. I just sat still. They'd erased me from the invitation. I'd just written myself into the deed. I arrived early, not to greet anyone, not to spy, just to see the house again before they arrived. It seemed smaller than I recalled. Or maybe I'd just grown. The porch swing was still lopsided. The shutters needed paint. Someone had swapped the front light for a cheap solar one, but it still swayed in the coastal breeze, gently, like it had waited for me. I didn't linger long, just long enough to check the champagne was chilled, the sheets turned down, my name correctly entered in the guest log. Then I left. I parked 3 streets away in a rented hatchback and waited. At 6:37 p.m., Elise's silver SUV rolled into the driveway. Her husband climbed out first, wrestling with bags. 2 kids spilled out, already bickering. Elise emerged last, sunglasses perched like a tiara. Then came Mom in the back of Uncle Paul's truck, dressed in crisp resort cotton, cream on cream, pearls at her neck. No makeup, just gloss, the look of a southern woman braced for polite deflection. They hauled their luggage toward the steps, all chatter and motion. I heard laughter, loud directions. Elise led the way to the front desk, then everything froze. The clerk, a young woman with a short bob and a regretful smile, spoke like she was reading a forecast. "I'm sorry I don't see your names on the reservation. Are you with Miss Mara Haywood's party?" Elise blinked. "I'm sorry, whose party?" "Miss Mara Haywood. She has the full reservation." The name landed like a stone through a window. There was a silence, not the kind that waits for words, but the kind that reshapes the space. I stepped out of the car then, not for show, just because it was time. My shoes clicked on the stone path as I walked in, calm, certain. I didn't look at Elise, I didn't need to. "I can clarify," I said to the clerk. "I'm Miss Haywood." "The deed closed 2 weeks ago." Elise turned, her face rigid. "You bought the house?" "Yes." Mom's voice was faint, puzzled. "But why would you do this?" I met her gaze, not angry, not cold, just done, because I was never invited, but I was never gone. Elise stepped closer, arms stiff. "You think this is clever? You think stealing our family trip proves something?" "No," I said. "It resolves something." I handed my ID to the clerk. "Anyone not on my guest list should be escorted out." Politely, I added, almost softly, "Their family." The clerk paused, then nodded. Behind me, no one spoke. Not Elise, not Mom, not Uncle Paul. The silence spoke for me. Let them explain it to each other. Let them say my name. They left the desk without a word. No yelling, no storming off, just rigid postures and silence trailing like fog. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. They knew now. That was enough. Or so I thought. The next morning, a news van appeared. I saw it from the window, gray with red lettering, parked just past the fence. A man in a pressed shirt with too much hair product stood outside, gripping a mic. He peered into the camera like he was unveiling a scandal. I didn't answer the door, but when the segment aired, my phone erupted. Texts, emails, a voicemail from a former colleague I hadn't spoken to in years. "Is this real? Did you really seize your family's house through a legal trick while your dad was ill?" The headline screamed, "Daughter exploits trust clause to displace family from historic home." They painted me as a schemer in stilettos. The story cited a family insider claiming my father was mentally frail and coerced into signing away his legacy. No name, but I didn't need one. Elise always knew how to twist others' pity. I sat with it. Didn't cry, didn't draft a rebuttal. Instead, I called Charlotte. Time, I said. She didn't need more. Files in 10. What she sent was thorough. Dated screenshots of texts between Elise and Mom. Messages like, "Don't worry, Mara's not showing up again. She's too self-absorbed. She's used to being left out." There were voice clips, too. One from a casual call mid-dinner, Elise's voice sharp. "Myra's too weak for this family. Let her stew in her apartment. We're better off." But the key was the video recorded 3 summers ago. My father sat on the deck, a quilt over his knees, clutching a worn mug. I was beside him, just out of frame. His voice was soft but firm. "I want Myra to have this place," he said. "Elise makes things bold, but Myra makes things endure." I hadn't watched it since we filmed it. I'd saved it for moments like this. The next day, I uploaded everything to a private drive, sent the link to one journalist I trusted, someone who'd covered inheritance disputes before. No notes, no explanation, just a message. "This is the truth. You decide what counts." It didn't go viral. It didn't need to. By noon, the original story was retracted. The station posted a quiet correction. My inbox calmed. So did the texts. That night, Charlotte messaged 3 words. "They're silent. You ready?" I looked at the ocean, dark and vast under the stars. Yes, the courthouse smelled of polish and stale air. I arrived early. No team, no flashy attorney. Just me, a charcoal dress my grandfather once called iron steady gray, and a folder tucked under my arm. Inside was everything they didn't expect to surface. Elise was already there when I entered, in a cream blazer, lips pressed thin as a blade. She didn't turn, but I saw her fingers fidgeting with her phone, quick and tense. Mom sat beside her, posture rigid, pearls quivering with each breath. She glanced at me once, then away. The clerk called the case, Haywood v. Haywood, petition for injunction on contested property, filed under claims of undue influence and elder coercion. Their lawyer stood first, polished, young, too new to remember flip phones. He used words like motive, fragility, manipulation. He called me distant. He lingered on the word, letting it settle. I didn't react. When my turn came, I stood deliberately. No drama, just facts. "Your Honor, I'd like to present video and audio evidence confirming my father's clear intent." The judge nodded. His glasses slipped as the bailiff lowered the lights. The video played. My father, wrapped in that quilt, his voice steady. "I want Myra to have this place. Elise makes things bold. Myra makes things endure. She's the only one who came after the collapse. The only one who didn't ask for anything." A pause. Then he looked at the camera and said, "It's not about equity, it's about memory." I watched the room. Mom blinked rapidly. Elise's jaw tightened. Then came the audio, the call, her voice. Let her rot in her apartment. She was never one of us. She should have been easier to manage. Silence followed, not shocked but weary. The judge leaned back, clicked his pen once, twice. "This court finds no basis for the petition. The evidence confirms the deceased's clarity and intent." The plaintiff's language suggests exclusion, not miscommunication. He removed his glasses. "This court doesn't heal family rifts. It upholds law, and here the law is clear." He struck the gavel, petition denied. Elise stood, fists tight but still. Mom stayed seated, eyes glossy but tearless. I gathered my folder and left without looking back. Outside, reporters waited. One mic pushed forward, a half-question in the air. "Do you have a message for your family?" I paused briefly. "No," I said, "I already spoke. I just used softer words, and I kept walking. The house was still when I returned. No bags on the porch. No voices echoing. Just the hum of the sea and the faint creak of wind through the worn shutters. Inside, it felt the same, but lighter, like something had been lifted from the walls. Clamor, perhaps, or pretense. I didn't touch anything at first. I walked slowly, traced the grain of the staircase, straightened the edge of the hall rug, let the quiet tell me what remained and what had gone. In the study, once my father's, then grandfather's, I opened the bottom desk drawer, the one they never cleared. Inside was the wind chime we'd crafted together. Shells threaded on twine, teal's string, loose knots fraying, my 10-year-old handwriting faint on one shell. MH, I sat on the floor, legs folded like a child, and began untangling. I didn't repair it to make it perfect. I repaired it because some things don't need perfection to matter. When Charlotte arrived, she brought wine and rags. "You didn't think I'd let you claim this without scrubbing floors, did you?" She grinned. We worked in silence. 2 women wiping away more than grime, wiping years of being overlooked, of being the afterthought in someone else's tale at dusk. I hung the wind chime by the kitchen window. It caught the breeze like it knew how to sway. Later on the porch, Charlotte asked, "What now?" I looked toward the horizon. They said I drifted, that I left. But I never went anywhere. I paused. They just chose not to see me. We didn't clink glasses. We didn't cheer. We just sat, 2 glasses in hand, watching the sea breathe. When I turned off the lights that night, I did it room by room from within. If this story stirred something quiet in you, something you haven't voiced in years, you're not alone. There are more of us than you know. People who didn't leave, we were just never called back. If you've ever been erased from your own story, leave a comment or a single word. So the silence doesn't win this time.